Okay, I say I see you as a Crocs guy. That's how I entered the story.
Yes.
But to me, you put Crocs on the map. That's what I would say. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I know you for. I remember seeing kind of the infamous now, what we know as like the fingerprint motif. And I just thought it was so creative, so interesting, so cool. I'd never once paid attention to Crocs before that. And everybody was wearing them. So I think that was the real bravado that like reached me. Would you say that the Crocs thing was like a game changer? Or do you feel like buy their stuff was slept on and they just found out that one hit?
No, the Crocs thing was a game changer, and that wasn't the intention. It was supposed... Well, so they reached out because they wanted to give me free Crocs, and then I was like, I'm good on the free Crocs, let's collaborate. And then they think they hit me back with... I
can't believe they have the audacity to just reach out and give you free Crocs, as if you're not a footwear designer. Like, what?
I don't know. Well, a lot of the time brands will reach out and be like, hey, we're releasing this thing, we want to give it to you. And I was like, I'm good. Because I wasn't really... I owned a few pair of Crocs, but it wasn't in like my rotation, if you will.
Were you attracted to them as a brand? Like, were you like, this is my opportunity to get in? Or
So I always have kind of two opinions. I have my consumer opinion and my designer opinion. As a consumer, I wasn't necessarily wearing Crocs too often, but as a designer, so much respect given to a brand that's able to take or create a proprietary material and then base their entire footwear offering off of that thing. That is a very rare thing to do. And then furthermore, invest in a silhouette that the majority of the audience is not getting behind and often makes fun of, right? So like that is a feat in itself. So the designer in me is like, holy shit, this is an opportunity. They offer me Crocs. I say no. I say I want to collaborate. They hit me back with like this emoji. And then they were like, what were you thinking? And then I did a quick Google image search. I showed them a Croc. It ended up being, I didn't know it was a kid's Croc. And they were like, oh, this is actually a kid's Croc, because I wanted to work on that. They were like, but we love that you're rethinking the form and don't want to just color up the traditional Croc.
Explain what a color up is quickly.
Color up is essentially reskinning, if you will. So many of the Crocs collaborations are on the original Croc silhouette, and then the collaborator gets to choose the color, maybe choose the gibbets, which are those little like button things in the toe. And I would say that's like a color up.
So you were saying that I'm capable of more than just a color up.
They asked, actually. So because I just wanted to color up that model I was showing them. But once they saw that I was thinking of what the form was of a Croc, they were like, would you like to create one from scratch? And I did my Burn Man hand rub and was like, absolutely. And so I knew that, at first I didn't really know what it was going to be. I knew that I had this kind of like very infant fingerprint aesthetic that I was exploring two-dimensionally. Nor do I work in 3D. So I had to sit with a friend. His name was Mikhail, that actually I met at United Nude. And we spent about just 2 weeks just designing throughout the day. I slept on his couch, and then we would do it again the next day. And we did it for like 2 weeks, and he was kind of my like digital clay, if you will. And he would just help me kind of like bring my ideas into the 3D rendering space. And the Payless is what came from that. And then that final form was maybe like 90% of what it became, because then once we sat down with Crocs, they mentioned some things about signature details and heritage, so we shifted a few things. But I love going to meetings with a 3D print of my idea, because for so many years I was trying to explain pieces of paper. If you can imagine this would curve here. I learned it from, I guess, my Versace experience. When I presented to the chain reaction to Donatella, I handed her the outsole, a 3D print of the outsole. And this was a woman that didn't really know much about sneakers. So instead of trying to like figure out what her language is and how to translate it, I literally just handed her the product and she understood it immediately.
The Crocs was memorable to me, and this is what I mean by being a world builder, because it wasn't just the shoe, which was great and really, really, again, memorable when you see it on the street. But it was the world that you built. It was how the images were shot. It was, the campaigns that you were doing. It was like, oh, okay, this guy's not just a designer. This guy's giving creative director energy.